That was a list I made a few months ago of the top 10 greatest wingers of all time. And probably one of the first things that you'll look at is Neymar at number 10. And of course, you'll say that's really low for Neymar. But if you really look at it, I think that's where he belongs. Neymar is easily, undoubtedly, one of the greatest talents the world has ever seen. One of the greatest talents in footballing history. Now, I'm just talking about talent and not the achievements, not the play, not the performances, not the actual career. But in terms of just pure footballing talent, Neymar is one of the best. You could make an argument he's top 10 talent of all time. You could make that argument, but that's what I want to talk about today. This week, Neymar moved back to Santos. He signed with Santos, his boyhood club, where he started his career. And it was a beautiful moment to see him at the stadium, to see all the fans. It's a great moment. But in my head as well, within that beautiful moment, I also thought, wow, for Neymar to go back to Brazil, to go back to Santos so early in his career. Neymar is still only 32, right? And I feel like it's a little bit early for him to be, to go back to Brazil. But that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about Neymar and his career, what I think of Neymar. But before we get into that, please remember to click the like button and subscribe to our channel. Also follow us on Instagram and Facebook at We Talk Football 24. That's Instagram, and We Talk Football on Facebook. So let's get into it, talking about Neymar Jr. Right, as I just said, Neymar just went back to Santos. He signed with Santos. He's left Al Hilal. He's left the Saudi League, and now he's back. He's back with his boyhood club, Santos. Now, Neymar, I love Neymar, right? I love watching him play. I've basically watched his entire professional career, let's say, and I remember, learning about Neymar and hearing all the things that people were saying back in Brazil about Neymar and what a talent he was. And yeah, absolutely, he was a fantastic talent, playing for Santos as a teenager. As a teenager, he was ripping it up. I remember he made his debut, of course, in 2009 for Santos, and he was rumored. Well, it was rumored that Brazil were considering taking him to the 2010 World Cup, and he was a teenager. So of course the comparisons will be ablaze. Neymar as a teenager going to the World Cup with Brazil, just like Pele did, and winning the World Cup in 1958 for Brazil. So that was huge. I remember that was huge because he was a teenager. He was at that point the best player in Brazil, the best player playing in the Brazil league. Not maybe not yet exactly the best player in the best Brazilian player at that moment, because you still had players like Kaká playing, you still had players like Robinho, and they were still playing at a high level. But then in Brazil, he was already the best player playing in Brazil. And everyone knew where he was going. He was definitely going to Europe. He was going to sign with a big club. There were so many teams looking to sign Neymar. Chelsea, I remember, were looking to sign Neymar. Eventually he went to Barcelona, but that's what I'm talking about. As a teenage prodigy, he's one of the greatest in terms of as a teenage prodigy. Everyone knew this guy is coming and he's going to be huge. He's one of the greatest in football. right? And if you think of past teenage prodigies like Pele, everyone knew he was going to be great when they watched Pele. I'm looking at players like right now, Lamine Yamal. We all know where he's going. He's going to be amazing. We've all heard the stories about Lionel Messi coming through at La Masia, and people saying already he's the best player at Barcelona. We know the famous story with Ronaldinho and Kobe, and Ronaldinho saying, "This is the greatest player in the world," and Kobe was like, "No, but you're the best player, Ronaldinho." And Ronaldinho was like, "No, you have to see this guy. He's only 17 years old, but you just come and watch. Just come and watch this kid called Lionel Messi." So, like in terms of like a teenage prodigy, right? Neymar is one of the greatest that football has ever seen. Uh, you know, not many players, not many players playing in Brazil make it into the Brazilian squad. It's usually players playing abroad. But that's how big he was. And he signed with Barcelona eventually in 2013. Before that, of course, he won the Puskás for an amazing solo goal for Santos. I can't remember the club, but everyone knows the goal. Everyone knows what happened. Gets the ball midway, dribbles past almost the entire team. He he does a step over and with his left foot touches it to go around the defender, and he goes the other side of the defender, and then he finishes with the outside of his right foot. Puskás Award. That's the talent I'm talking about. A player that can do anything at any moment, take on players, go past the whole team and score a brilliant goal. And that's what Neymar was as a talent. That's what he is, right? And he went to the Club World Cup. He played against Barcelona. I think that was also a key moment because when he played against Santos against Barcelona in the final, and Lionel Messi ripped it up, of course, I think at that point, Neymar wanted to go to Barcelona. I think that's when his interest, maybe, I think that's when his interest started to be like, I want to go to this team, to this specific Barcelona team with Xavi, Iniesta, Messi, all them boys. And he went in 2013 to Barcelona, right? And he had an amazing time. He spent 4 years at Barcelona from 2013 to 2017. And in that time, of course, he was in the famous MSN in the 2014-2015 season. That was an amazing year, right? Barca won a treble. He scored, I think, let me see. I think he scored 48 goals in 63 appearances that season, and he was key. I remember in some point in that season, there was a time when Lionel Messi was injured for about a month. And in that time, Neymar and Luis Suarez took over and they pushed Barcelona forward. If you remember, the game that Lionel Messi actually came back from injury was Real Madrid at the Bernabeu, and Neymar and Luis Suarez they made a mess. They made a mess of Real Madrid that day. They had their way. They did everything they wanted, but that was Neymar at his best. That was Neymar's prime, man. Like, he was unplayable. And as a talent, again, like I keep talking about this talent, the Neymar talent. It's that great. It's that great. It propelled him to that level, right? To scoring 48 goals in 63 appearances with 15 assists. That's incredible. That's like Messi numbers, Ronaldo numbers, right? And then he went to PSG after that, I think. And I don't have a problem with him going to PSG because he wanted to have a team where he won't be overshadowed by Messi. And that's not a slight. I don't think that was a slight on Messi. That wasn't a bad thing for Neymar to move. It was actually a good thing for him to move to try and, grow as a player and be regarded. I think he wanted to, take his level to Lionel Messi, Ronaldo levels, and be regarded as one of the greatest, absolute greatest players in history. And going to PSG, he probably was looking at, winning PSG trophies, especially the Champions League that PSG really, really wanted. That's the trophy they really wanted. And Neymar's time at PSG. Firstly, the transfer record. You have to talk about the transfer record. It's like 222 euros. That's insane. I think that is. I think that's still the record transfer fee that a club has ever paid. And he stayed at PSG for 6 years, from 2017 to 2023. Now, I think it was a good thing for him to move. Also, it was a good spell at PSG because they did win titles, but not the title they wanted. And I think there was a difference in Neymar's play at PSG and at Barcelona. At Barcelona, I think he had the focus, he had the leadership at Barcelona that pushed him to win trophies, to win the Champions League and the Spanish La Ligas, the Copa del Reyes. Because, of course, like, you do have the leadership of Iniesta and Xavi. You have the leadership of PK and Lionel. Especially, you had Lionel Messi right there next to you. You had Luis Suarez. You had those kind of players. Busquets, playing around you and propelling Neymar to being a winning player at Barcelona. But when he went to PSG, he clearly was the best player. At Barcelona, he wasn't the best player at Barcelona. But at PSG, he was the guy. And he expected to be the guy. And he was the guy, obviously. But for the fact that he didn't win the trophies that PSG really wanted, right? And I'm not saying like winning trophies makes you the great player, but I'm just saying, even in the losses for PSG, he just didn't show up, man. He just didn't. He didn't show up in the 2017, in the 2018 Champions League. I think it was the round of 16 or quarterfinal against Real Madrid. There you have a chance to take over and propel PSG to the next level. Knock out Real Madrid and Cristiano Ronaldo and be the guy. He didn't. That was his first season, and it's hard to knock someone for losing to Real Madrid and Cristiano Ronaldo. That was a historical team. But then after that, the things just didn't click. It just didn't work out in the Champions League for PSG. And for Neymar to be the figurehead, the face of that PSG team, and they didn't win a Champions League in his time there, I do put that a lot on Neymar, because I do feel like he is not a winning player. And I have so many things. He's not a winning player, and he's not a leader that will take you to the next level. As a talent, he's one of the greatest. I think he's a greater talent than people like Cristiano Ronaldo. He's a greater talent than Henry. He's a greater talent than Suarez. He's a greater talent than Iniesta and Xavi. But he's definitely not a greater player than those people, because they led teams. They led teams to victory. They led teams. They had key pivotal moments where their teams won trophies because of them. Or I'm talking about people who led their teams to significant moments, like Gareth Bale leading Wales, being the best player for Wales and leading them to a semi-final that they never thought they'd reach. Wales could have football for the next 100 years, 1,000 years. They would never have ever thought of reaching a semi-final of a Euro Championship, even with Giggs and all them. And that's why I have Gareth Bale higher than Neymar. because he led teams to achievements like that. Tottenham finishing in the top four, they never would have thought of getting there. They wouldn't have gotten there if Bale didn't do all those things that he did for Tottenham. And so for me, I look at Neymar and I feel like he should have done that for PSG. They reached the final in 2020. When was it? 2020. Nah? I think, yeah, 2020. And they lost to Bayern Munich, which is not no shame. But if you look at his performance, it was underwhelming. He didn't really push on and push PSG to, he didn't have a great game. And maybe if he had a great game, maybe they would have had a chance to win. And this is one of the reasons why I think Neymar, I'm going to talk about it. Neymar is not one of the greatest players. I mean, he's a great player. He's a great historical player, but he could have achieved more. At PSG offers Kylian Mbappe that huge contract where he could have a lot of influence at PSG, right? And essentially, they're saying to Neymar, we're looking at Kylian Mbappe as our best player, and maybe not you, definitely not you. And that was Neymar when he was 30, right? If Neymar was really the best player at PSG and everyone knew it and it was undoubted, PSG would not have done that. I'll go back to his days at Barcelona. He left Messi in Barcelona, right? Because he wanted to be the figurehead. He wanted to be the guy. He wanted his own space. Now, can you imagine? And this is comparable because Messi is older than Neymar, and when Neymar left Barcelona, of course, they wanted him to stay, right? But Barcelona were never going to offer a bigger contract to Neymar and not give it to Lionel Messi, because Messi was just that good. Messi is the greatest player in history, so they knew they couldn't do that to Messi. They let Neymar go. Now the roles have reversed, right? PSG was Neymar's team, but they gave that contract to Kylian Mbappe instead of Neymar. Now, could you have imagined if something like that happened at Barcelona? It was never going to happen. It would not have happened because Neymar wasn't that good. Neymar wasn't, let me not say not that good, but he wasn't seen as the most important player at PSG. And for PSG to give Kylian Mbappe that contract and say, you're going to take us forward, that's a huge indictment on Neymar. Things like that. Things like at the 2022 World Cup, instead of taking a penalty for Brazil, he doesn't against Croatia. He did great to score the equalizer, right? That was a huge moment, and I think that was a clutch moment for Neymar. Came back, scored a really great solo goal against Croatia to level things up. But then here comes penalties, and Brazil were a huge favorite. In that game. They should have won. Penalties come. You expect your best player in a generation. You expect your best player to step up and take maybe the first penalty. Set the tone, give the entire team confidence. If everyone is seeing our best player, our leader, going up there to take a penalty, smashing it in, scoring, it gives the whole team confidence. The next penalty taker's confidence to say, Neymar did it. I can't let him down. I have to go and step up as well. He doesn't take a single penalty and Brazil lose those penalty shootouts. I don't know why that's not spoken enough, but that was huge. Can you imagine Ronaldo, Messi, Maradona, Pele, Zidane, all those guys not taking a penalty, not taking the first penalty Messi in the World Cup final took the first penalty for Argentina. Can you imagine those players not taking a penalty and their nations knocked out of a World Cup? If I'm Brazilian, I'm sick. If I'm Brazilian, bro, I'm losing my mind. I am ill. I am ill. Because Neymar, my best player, didn't step up. And for me, that's the crux of it. Like, that's the crux of Neymar not fulfilling his talent. He then goes in 23. He then leaves PSG. He goes to Al Hilal and gets a buckload of money. Plays 3 appearances in 2 years. Plays for Al Hilal 3 times. That's disappointing. I think it's fair to point out that he had bad injuries, right? ACL injuries to his knee. That's sad. And that's a sad way to limp out of a club, especially a club that expected so much. Al Hilal, they paid him so much money and he played only 3 appearances. Can't knock him for that. But then, now in 25, he's back in Brazil. Now, if you look at someone who goes to Al Hilal and then signs with Santos back like someone who goes back to their home country, right? And plays for their boyhood club, you would think I'm talking about someone who's 36, 37, past their prime. I'm talking about Neymar at 32. Well, he's going to turn 33 in a few days. I think that's underwhelming, man. Like, Mohamed Salah is the same age and he's the best player in the world right now, Mohamed Salah. He's 33, Mohamed Salah, same age as Neymar. Neymar should still be at a top club in Europe doing the business. He still should be taking care of himself. He still should be fit. He still should be hungry. And I love that he's at Santos. I think it's a beautiful story. I think he's going to be... I hope that he'll be good for Santos and it's going to be good for him and his spirits. But that's the entire story of Neymar. I did a video comparing Neymar to Kyrie Irving. Two of the greatest talents, maybe, right? Ever in their sports. It's arguable, of course. But that's what I mean. Neymar back in Brazil when he was a teenager was expected to rock the world and win at least 1 Ballon d'Or in his time. At least 1 Ballon d'Or. It was expected that he'd win a Champions League with PSG. Now, I know he played in an era where Ronaldo and Messi just locked the whole game. They had the whole game locked up, right? Because they won Ballon d'Ors for about 10 years straight. It was just Ronaldo, Messi. But Benzema won a Ballon d'Or. Modric won a Ballon d'Or. Rodri has just won a Ballon d'Or. And Neymar, if he was still very focused on football and winning, I think he would have won at least one or 2 Ballon d'Ors in his career. He's that good. He should have. Neymar's talent, he should have easily now been a top 10 player ever. A top 10 player ever, Neymar. That's how talented he is. And everyone will say the same thing. But I think he's just not a winning player. He wasn't a winning player in his time at PSG. And I think it was great for him to be at Barcelona with Messi, especially in Messi next to him, to win all those trophies. But that's why I put Neymar at number 10 as one of the greatest wingers of all time, the top 10 greatest wingers of all time in my list. But, seeing Neymar go to Santos this week, I thought I should talk about Neymar's career and what I think of it. But let me know what you think. Sorry about that. Sorry about that, but yeah, back. But anyway, that concludes the video. I was just saying, please remember, let me know what you think of what I've just said about Neymar. Leave your comments down below. Like, share, subscribe, and follow us everywhere. Have a nice weekend and take care. Awareness